Hey guys, my bad. My goodness. Anyways, sorry to start that video off the way it did. But hey guys, came from 15, back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another My Hero Academia manga chapter review for you guys. As listen, I'm gonna say I'm continuing on with the series, but the series has basically, at the time of the most recent chapter, four more chapters to go because actually Koei Horikoshi came out a few days ago this week and basically said that My Hero Academia is going to be ending in 5 chapters. Now, actually, I should have had this um all pulled up earlier. My Hero ending. Um, so yes, Horikoshi left this message. He said, "Sorry for taking a 2 week break. A lot of things overlapped, and my schedule ended up like a mile fuel, whatever that meant. It ends in 5 chapters. I think opinions will be divided, thinking either there's still 5 more chapters, and there's only 5 more chapters. But I'll do my best with Deku and the others in the remaining 5 chapters, so both kinds of people can enjoy it." There were bumps along the way, but I managed to keep drawing Deku and the others for almost 10 years, thanks to all of you who kept reading. It was like a dream. Thank you so much. Well, then let's meet again. So it's absolutely crazy. Or actually, this is more of official translation. He said, "Sorry for taking a 2 week break. I had some more schedules overlap each other like a mile fuel. The series will end in 5 chapters. You might be thinking there's still 5 chapters to go, or only 5 chapters left. But no matter which one you're thinking, I will strive to make an amazing 5 chapters that everyone can enjoy, along with Deku and the others. While the past 10 years or so were not without its bumps in the road, the fact I was able to continue Deku and Company's story is all thanks to you. It was like a dream. Thank you all truly. Anyway, I'll see you in the next Jump edition." So, My Hero Academia is ending. Well, now 4 chapters, 4 or 5 chapters, essentially, but now 4 chapters. And Horikoshi gave basically the post saying that, "Yep, I'm ending the series." It's groundbreaking news. I know I didn't get a chance to talk about it instantly because I was always working. But now that I have a chance to talk about it, before I talk about the last few chapters that have came out, um it's I won't say bittersweet, but it's a nice emotional story, or storybook ending, because for people who don't have background information, like I didn't get into watching My Hero Academia. I wasn't one of the people who first started like My Hero Academia once it hit the scene, whether it was the manga or the anime. Really, I guess in this case, the anime. Um, I got into My Hero Academia a few years after My Hero Academia was established as a manga, and really, after I think I didn't start watching My Hero Academia till basically season 3 was over. When season 3 was over and everybody was waiting for season 4 um to get here, that's when I got into it. And I got into it in my college years, getting my bachelor's degree. And, I one of the things that got me into it, sad, crazy enough, was Jump Force. Jump Force was that one anime game that it's not widely liked, but a bunch of different Shonen Jump characters, and I saw this one character, I saw Deku in the game, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? So then I go check out his series, and then I watch My Hero Academia, and then I'm basically in love with it because I like the premise, the fact that it's a superhero show. I like my superhero movies. And throughout the journey, I went from season 1 to season 3. I was just blown away. And I'm like, holy shit, this is really damn good. To the point I know, like, my co-host who joins me on my Hero Academia anime reviews, the Red Wolf, um, what is it? He actually watched it way before I did. And he's like, yeah, dude, it's pretty good. So My Hero Academia holds a special place in my heart, because it's one of the animes or the series that, you know, It was one of the new series in terms of other shonen animes not named Dragon Ball that I started to actually dive in and go into. Um, you know, it was probably the next shonen series after Dragon Ball I watched because I really didn't watch any other series of anime. I watched some animes, but it's like I wasn't like too deep into watching all the animes like I do now. And I can say I'll say this. Dragon Ball was kind of my introduction to anime, and that was like, okay, I like Dragon Ball. But My Hero Academia for me, when I saw the show, that was my true like opening up to other animes and opening up to watching other animes that are not really Dragon Ball or Pokemon and things like that. Um and I wouldn't be here talking about all the different animes I review on my channel. Or I don't watch any of the different types of animes, not for My Hero Academia, opening my visions up to say like, okay, there can actually be more great anime out there. Um, you know, um I watch Dragon Ball, that's a shonen series. My Hero, another shonen series. I ended up getting into One Piece, another shonen series. Bleach, another shonen series. Black Clover, another shonen series. Still haven't watched Naruto yet. Don't know if I'll ever get to that. Not really intrigued on seeing it, but maybe one of these days I'll probably end up seeing it and watching it. But you get my point. My Hero Academia holds a special place in my heart for that way alone. And then, just watching the characters just go from where they were at in season one, to where they're at now, in the last five chapters. Um, it's crazy with the growth and the development. And the one thing I do like is even if it was in a miniature role, they do for Horikoshi tried his best to make a focus on all the class members of Class 1A. Um, again, I don't want to compare with Dragon Ball, but it's like you see with Dragon Ball in the original series, they had a focus on each of the other characters alongside Goku. You had your focus on Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, you know, a little bit of Master Roshi, and then you get to Dragon Ball Z. Um, it really isn't until like Saiyan Sagas, like you get that one whole Saiyan Saga stuff where they do a focus on the human characters. They end up getting killed. They go to Planet Namek and it's mostly Gohan and Krillin, and that dives into like a whole bunch of villains a lot stronger and introducing of characters like Vegeta and Frieza and all these dudes. And it's like by the time you get to the Android saga, the human characters legitimately irrelevant to the point it's like, okay, yeah, they're just kind of here to assist any way they can, but they're mostly here to watch Goku and company basically save the world like they always usually do, right? And I really didn't. And even in the Android Saga, they did some of the human characters did some things, but once you get to like Buu Saga on into GT or Super, well, GT they were never even seen or heard of again. But like Super, like Majin Buu Saga on to Super, basically, the human characters don't do much of anything. Like the last time the human characters I remember in Dragon Ball doing something was basically stopping any of the criminals that they were strong, obviously pretty strong up against the forces of Moro. But really, Majin Buu Saga and Super On and even GT, it's just been the Goku, Vegeta, or Saiyan show just in general. And they kind of lost that focus on focusing on the characters that started the series off and maybe finding ways to get them stronger. Like the only other relevant character that's not a Saiyan that's gotten stronger is probably Piccolo. But other than that, they haven't found a way to get the human characters to be stronger or irrelevant or if not relevant enough to do anything, you know? But at least they try to work their way to make them somewhat play a role, but you get my point. With My Hero Academia, even the lesser characters, they have a moment or something like that where it's like, okay, you can take away, and maybe it's not a fighting moment, but it's an emotional moment. And yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed My Hero Academia throughout its entire runs, and it's like Horikoshi said in his message, there there were bumps in the road. I'm not trying to say My Hero Academia is a perfect series, and I know there's many times where I've come on the video, whether it's my anime reviews or even my manga reviews, saying like I don't understand why people are hating this point. what do you think can be better? And honestly, I'm just kind of that person that just enjoys just to enjoy my series. If there's an issue I have with something, then yeah, I'll voice my opinion. Like for example, recently, the Bakugo stuff. The Bakugo stuff, I think I'm an advocate on the side of saying that Bakugo more than likely should have just died instead of having Ed Shot basically repair a blown up heart and basically resuscitate him and bring him back to life. Um, you know, I personally was like, look, I think Horikoshi ended up getting cold feet, because he knows Bakugo is a fan favorite character, but it's like, I won't lie, it would have hit home a lot harder if Bakugo had been dead, stayed dead. Um, because that's an impactful death. Somebody that basically we saw from the start be uh just a straight up bully, a straight up dick essentially. And throughout the freaking mini arcs and everything, and the revelations he gets about Deku and everything, he starts to have a respect for him. At the same time keeping the rivalry respected, but also having a friendship with him. And you see his character development grow from the moment you first see him to where he's at now, and you're like, damn, honestly, it's a tragic way to have the character go, but you did what you set out to do with the character, and the character basically fought everything he did, and he tried to do one last attack against Shigaraki, but you know, like he just didn't have enough, and now it's time for the next guy to come in, which was Deku, to finish the job, right? So, you know, and usually I hate when authors get cold feet about characters that they try to kill off. You know, like I honestly, I'm not saying I lost respect for Horikoshi. I was just kind of disappointed as the fact, like, come on, man. But like I said, there's not bumps in the road. I know there's people that have certain issues with My Hero Academia and the way that it is. Like, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Like this last war arc, even though it was set up to be, okay, this could be grandiose on a grandiose scale, there wasn't its bumps in the road. I still think the final war arc is a top five arc. The setup to getting to it, um, the setup and build up. Certain moments throughout this arc, obviously, we just seen it in the anime, the freaking Todoroki, Dabi stuff, the first go around, but that whole situation. I did enjoy the Deku versus Shigaraki fight. I thought it was actually a pretty damn good fight. The early stages of the Shigaraki versus the hero fights in the freaking UA cage was dope. Um, and things like that. So the spinner stuff was interesting. The all for one, all might fight, that was also Endeavor and things like that. I know people they didn't really like that Ochako Toga ending very much. I know that was a very crucial thing. Like I said, I rank my favorite arc in the series definitely is the season 6 content. So which is basically the war arc, and then the vigilante Deku arc or whatever. Those are my two favorite arcs in the series, and they're like 1A, 1B essentially, but that's my favorite content. And then I think after that would probably have to be content in regards to season 2, which was basically their hero internship stuff, was probably my next favorite arc. So those are probably my top. So actually no. I would say the hero camp arc, which leads into the All Might final All Might versus All for One content. That's probably my third favorite arc. Then would be like the internship, which is like the Killer Stain arc, essentially. That arc would be next, and then this would probably be my next favorite arc, with everything we got there. And at some point when the series concludes, I'll probably do a ranking of all my arcs in the series and everything, and give everybody my thoughts and like, you know, where each arc lies in for me in terms of what is my favorite arc, even though I just gave it right now, and then what's my least favorite arc. I think it's pretty obvious to know what my least favorite arc is, and I think that's a lot of people's least favorite arcs, and that's really, and I'm just gonna give that away, and that's just the one Class 1A versus Class 1B stuff. It was cool to see Class 1B, but I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't really invested in that shit. That's gonna think. So that's probably something I have to think about because like I said, I didn't even mention like My Villain Academia, which honestly, to be honest, that's probably a top five arc in my again, that'll be something that I'll situate, but regardless, like I said, there wasn't bumps in the road, with the story series. Series isn't perfect and it isn't going to be perfect. And I know going into these series, things are not going to be perfect. And maybe that's why I take back and I'm just like I look at the positives all the time, sort of looking at the negatives, which people always like to always talk about and view. Um, that's just me. I'm a positive. I try to be a positive person. I don't try to look in the negatives. And if I'm enjoying something, then I'm going to say I'm going to enjoy it despite what people say or what haters say. Again, everybody's opinion is entitled to it. That's fine. But, My Hero Academia, it's, again, like I said, it doesn't have its bumps in the roads. There are its issues, manga and anime, reason. I'll be giving this talk whenever the anime ends as well. But, it's crazy, it's sad, that this amazing story that's been told for nearly 10 years, basically a whole decade, is now finally coming to an end. But it's like the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And it sucks that it is coming to an end. So it's like, one, you know, will there be disagreements with how certain story points end? Yes. I guarantee you the fan base with how fickle they are, there will be some things that they won't prefer, they won't like, in terms of certain story points, how they conclude, or certain ships that end up getting confirmed and things like that. We'll see. We will see. And I know people are gonna have some issues, but I'm just gonna sit back. I'm going to enjoy the last few chapters we have left of the series because once it's gone, I'm not waking up to every Sunday to read the next My Hero Academia chapter or even read the early translations early on. Um, it's something that's gonna be missed, you know, and will Horikoshi ever come back to the story at some point and maybe tell a sequel series? I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. I would envision maybe he wants to take some time off because of his health, and things like that. And honestly, the guy needs it. He's been working at this for basically a decade. You could see in the later stages of working this manga and working to the bone, the man was legitimately basically in bad health because of it. But I'm glad that the man's able to end the story the way he wants to end it. And yeah, so that's my thoughts on the conclusion. Let's get to the manga chapters that I've missed out on. So that's contain manga chapters 424 to 426, which the early translations ended up leaking out early. So basically, these chapters on is the epilogue. So basically, the chapter 424 starts off with that newswoman, and she basically talks about how like it's basically a sunny day and the wind is finally clear and you can go outside and enjoy everything. So I kind of see that as a symbiotic reason, symbiotic way, because you saw at the end of the fight with Deku versus All for One, you saw it to where the sky is parted and a light is shining, even though we know in the anime the sun is still shining regardless. But in a way, now the skies are all clear and blue and everything. I think that's a symbiotic way of saying like, okay, the big evil has been defeated. The world is saved and everything. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. So yeah. Anyways, we end up finding out that some heroes end up actually going to Japan to help out in terms of the rebuilding process and helping other civilians and debris stuff. So yeah, now, 1 week ends up passing, and basically the restoration efforts that have stalled after the Jakku conflict basically picked up. So Deku makes the mention, like the fact like they haven't even been able to rebuild Japan since the first war arc, because really after the first war arc, everything went into chaos because all these villains and freaking jailbreakers were basically running around free. So there was really no time to be able to even rebuild until the villains were absolutely defeated, so that's kind of the thing. Deku makes the mention that United States and many other nations showed up with support. We see some of the other world heroes from the third movie and everything, like Big Red Dot, the Egyptian hero and everything. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. Um, Now, Deku goes on to say before the advent of exceptional restoration on a similar scale, on it would have taken over a decade to fix everything. But with many capable hands, and due to quirks, it shouldn't be that long. We then cut over to the hospital. The Penguin doctor is basically telling Bakugo like, you won't ever go back to normal. And basically said, look, surgery is the best we could, but you know, really we find out like his right arm was so badly damaged, it's not even gonna go back to normal. And the fact he goes on to make a mention like a great number of bone segments to be joined and set, and I can't guarantee that any amount of rehabilitation will give him the best use of back of that arm. So basically, it sounds like his right arm is somewhat like kind of mildly paralyzed, just from the damage he suffered alone. And also, too, it's like you'd have to think with the situation with his heart, too. It's like, damn, maybe he can't work as a hero as crazy as, but we know Bakugo will always push past his limits and everything and do that. So that's the thing now. He goes on to say, like, if he's determined to work as a hero, he can consider prosthetics like Miracle. But Bakugo's like, no, forget it. I ain't using prosthetics. I'm just gonna keep using my arm because his quirk comes from his palms, and if he uses prosthetics, well, it's not going to be much of it. So he'll probably work it around it, and maybe who knows, as he gets older, maybe it will start to function better. But really, truly, to be honest, if you damage something pretty badly as you get older, it doesn't really help you in the future. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. So yeah. Anyways, Bakugo's being Bakugo, but the doctor's like, listen, um, more than your arm. He brings up the point about his heart. He goes on to say, you'd be dead without Eggshot's masterful surgery, which helped you restart your heart and lungs. I have no idea how you managed to keep fighting in that state, and I'm frankly flabbergasted that you blasted your way across several kilometers after that. You were given a second shot at life, and you heeded the call. In any case, my only prescription is for you is bed rest. So he's basically telling him, well, listen, dude, I understand you probably want to go back to doing what you want to do, but listen, with your situation and the fact that you almost died, it's best you actually understand the fact that you were given a second chance at life at your young age. And what you need to do is worry about bed rest. Anyways, we cut over to Deku and All Might. They're both in a hospital bed, so Deku can't escape the hospital bed allegations. Um, All Might asks Deku if he's awake. He's like, "What are the odds that we end up on this side by side, All Might?" And basically, All Might's like, "Sukauchi arranged it." So that's the thing. Um, so All Might ask Deku like, "How do you feel?" And basically Deku's like, "I'm getting back some feeling in my arms." And he talks about like how he couldn't save Tenko's life. Um, and he basically said like even after reaching into his heart and shattering hatred, Tenko remained the League of Villains leader to the very end. Now, All Might responds by saying, speaking as someone who went through a near-death experience, I want to ask you yourself, what was the look on his face at the end? Um, and basically, Deku remembers that Shigaraki smiled. Um, and All Might basically says, assuming he didn't look like that crying kid, then you did save his soul anyway. And you did your duty to one for all. You pass it on, right? I felt it happening. Now, Deku goes on to say he can still feel the embers of one for all still inside of him. Now, I think they bring this mention up in the next chapter too, the fact that he still has the embers. Now, I'm not going to be patient on this. My theory is this. I don't know. Now, the theory is, could Shigaraki, when he clutched fist back with Deku, gave all for one or one for all back to Deku? There's a potential chance maybe that's the case. Now, we don't know how much longer these embers Deku can use up to still be a hero. But my best theory is maybe it's not embers. Maybe it's the fact that, okay, maybe Shigaraki just and I've seen this theory somewhat float around, but if Horikoshi wants to keep Deku still having one for all and still having a quirk, maybe Shigaraki did give Deku one for all back, but he took basically all the users' vestiges and basically one for all is back to the original quirk it used to be, where now it just needs to stockpile and basically be passed on to get stronger again. So maybe the fact is the ember is still left in one for all is there's still a fragment of what one for all once is. So Deku still maybe has some of that one for all strength, but it's not as strong as he used as obviously it was throughout the story. But those embers might need to grow back into a flame, and maybe this can be the start of Deku's version of One for All. So then it's like, okay, I'll start the next new line of generation and I'll be the new first user of One for All. Maybe that's just me wanting and hoping that Deku still keeps the quirk. But that's just my theory. Maybe the fact what he means by Embers is it's just One for All starting from scratch again, and it's just a weak quirk again. Deku still has his strength and everything, but it's back to the regular, okay, he doesn't have Black Whip, he doesn't have all these extra quirks. It's just back to the strength enhancing quirk it used to be. Basically, he's gonna basically like All Might. So I would envision I could see Deku using obviously some support weapons or some support items that potentially remind him of his previous quirks to help. The man clearly can't. I think the only hard thing is the gear shift and the float and the unique quirks and the danger senses and stuff like that. But who knows? We will see. We will see. Will he run out of those embers, or will those embers turn into something new to where, okay, um, it's something that he doesn't have to worry about going forward. So yeah. Now Bakugo walks in and basically he's shocked at hearing this, and he's like, that means you're gonna be quirkless again. Now Deku, he's like, yeah, but he never had a quirk in the first place. So he's not really too broken up by it, which is actually quite shocking in the fact that like Deku isn't getting emotional about the fact that he might potentially lose his quirk. Because if not for One for All, he wouldn't be here where he's standing. But I think the fact that he's a proud of the fact, like, well, I saved the world, I saved Tenko, I think that makes everything fine with the fact that, I lost One for All. And he knew what he was getting himself into when the plan was to give One for All to Shigaraki to go inside and basically beat him. So that's the thing. But Bakugo's kind of shaking up about it. And he's shaking up about it because it's like, one, like he's flashing back to everything he said in the past, basically about basically making fun of Deku for being quirkless, and then two, now they're probably their rivalry at the same time and everything. The man gets so emotional he actually starts to cry, um, and this shocks Deku, and basically, um, you know, he goes on to say, "What the hell did I do to you? I guess I thought we'd be competing and I'd be on your heels for the rest of our lives." So that's the thing, basically. So yeah. Now, All Might basically goes on to tell both of them, like, look, you two have grown so much in your time. You guys are so much different from the first day you met. He goes on to talk about how Deku, when I saw you diving into that fray that day, you were already a great hero as far as I was concerned. But now, the way you're encouraging the world to get back up on its feet, now you're a great hero to them all. And he goes and talk about how Bakugo, um, you darn sure made to be around to say these nice things. You hear me, Bakugo? To my pair of great heroes, I say thank you. So that's basically the thing. We do see some cuts. We see Ochako, she's fine. We see Todoroki, which he's a focus of the most recent chapter and everything. Deku goes on to say, when I was little, I thought that when the big battle was won, peace would be restored to the world just like that. However, our tale doesn't end here. It can't. The fight may be over, but we lead the way to a bright future, we got to go further beyond. And then that's when we see Deku alongside other classmates go back to UA. Deku has a new haircut because he had surgery on his forehead, and he also has scar. And it's funny enough because you see, like, for example, the Todoroki family in the most recent chapter, all of them have like burn scars from their fight against Toya. Anyways, we get to chapter 425. Chapter 425 basically is the epilogue to the class, to Nejire, Tamaki, and Mirio's class. They're basically graduating, so they basically graduate. We see class 1A actually be promoted to class 2A. Um, so that's the thing. We have all these characters, all these characters we know basically graduating. The boys are upset that Nejire is graduating. I don't blame them one bit. Sometimes, you go to high school, you have that one girl where everybody just fawns over and wants to date, and then she ends up graduating like, damn, she's gone now. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. So yeah. Anyways, it's cool, it's nice, it's a nice emotional moment right then and there. And you have it to where Mario speaks, and Mario's like, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the taking the time out of your lives, your busy lives to be in attendance today. Collectively, we lost so much and gained nothing at all. The fact is, heroes fight to bring a negative situation back to square one. General studies, the support courses, and the business courses, each of you leveraged that experience gained at this institution to come together as one and fight the good fight. However, we're still not back to square one just yet. There's the 3 years we've spent here will be put towards that purpose. Today was not the goal. A world without smiles and humor has no bright future. We seek a positive world where people can live their good lives in good cheer. That is the finish line we're racing towards. Um, and he does kind of an homage or kind of a symbol to Night Eye, his former master that tragically passed away. He goes on to say, today marks the start of that journey for us. So all who's yet to graduate, I say peace out, essentially. So that's the thing. Yeah. Now, anyways, Class 1A, now is Class 2A. Aizawa is still their teacher, and obviously, um, the class, now Class 2A is happy. So they're all happy that they got Aizawa and everything. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. We actually end up having Ayama show up. Now, Ayama actually comes in and he's like, listen, I'm actually leaving UA. Um, and everything. Now Ayama goes on to say the reason why he's leaving UA is talking about how Asuka Uchi and Aizawa said, I may stay enrolled, but now I must set matters right. He goes on to say, my very matriculation was part of All for One scheme. I will not be deserving of a graduation like the one we attended today. I will atone and once more walk the path of the hero that sits well with me. After all, I reached out to you all and took your hands in mine. He gives Deku another cheese block. And he goes on to say, someday I promise I'll be worthy of standing beside you with my head held high. So Class 2A, they're obviously upset, but because Ayama is leaving, the replacement ends up actually being Shinzo, which was another big theory by fans saying like he would be promoted, he'd be going to the hero course, and he'd probably join Class 1A at the time, but now he's joining Deku's class as a replacement to Ayama. In terms of the Ayama story finally ending, it kind of makes sense. He would feel like he would probably want to go leave. Seemingly enough, it sounds like the guy wants to basically get his life together, basically atone for what he's done, maybe do some work to get his standings back up, and then be worthy enough to be a hero again. So then, well, in his eyes, to be able to go out there and stand alongside his fellow classmates that will probably be pro heroes at the time. So that's the thing right then and there. So yeah. Anyways, we kind of have it to where too, we see Invisible Girl show herself. Mineta's like, I never knew there was a goddess among us. So that's the thing. Now we end up actually having the chick, Maiwata Fuwa. And if you don't remember who Maiwata Fuwa is, she's the one girl that we saw in the anime She had like the cannonball earrings or whatever, but it was the whole thing talking about how like, oh, you know, talking about Aizawa and everything and how good he is as a teacher and how the fact like, he actually set them up for success. That chick. We don't see much of her, but she basically comes in and tells class 2A, second and third years in the hero course will be joining the greater restoration effort for the time being, and I'm in charge of organizing us. She goes on to say, in addition to the outgoing restoration projects, we'll be involved with the nationwide effort to maintain law and order. We made it past All Might's retirement and then the war in Jakku. Know that after each big battle, the one that winds up in textbooks, there'll be sure to be a period of chaos the books don't talk about. And basically, Todoroki talks about the fact, like, right, when there's no symbol, All for One was born during the chaos like that. Um, and basically, Miwata's like, does that cover it? Um, Basically, it's all when he's like, yeah. So that's the thing. Now she calls him Era Sensei, which that's funny. Now she goes and say, I used to be in Era Sensei's class myself. I take it he didn't expel you all. Lucky, I'm jealous. He gave us the pampered kids the taste of death, so to speak, scary stuff. Thank you, Fuwa. You can go now. And that's what I saw was like, all right, get the hell out of here. You don't need to freaking talk about what I did and threaten these guys and everything. But Fuwa or Miwata talks about like you have to thank him for making us realize why we should be heroes and everything. So you have it to where Aizawa kind of gets a little bit flushed. He's like, you're welcome. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. Now, Deku, he's kind of like the class 2A is like, wow, I can't believe we're gonna be senpais officially now. So they're gonna be entering into a new era and everything. So that's gonna be funny. Now, that's kind of the thing right then and there. So yeah. Now, you have it to where Ochako and Deku, they do have a talk. No, no confirmation of the fact of, okay, are they gonna finally be dating? Hopefully we get that. Hopefully we get freaking Ochako finally confessing her feelings to Deku in one of the last chapters. I know if there's an Ochako focused chapter, I could see her maybe wherever the hell Toga is at, or if Toga's dead more than likely. Maybe being at the tombstone to Toga, and maybe eventually like confessing her feelings to Deku and being open with her feelings to Deku. And maybe it's the thing of like, hey, I want to go out with you. Will you go out with me? And I hope Deku says yes, and they're not playing this whole game or whatever. Um, so yeah. Anyway, she does talk to Deku. She's like, I hope like your hair grows back because he's missing a good chunk of your hair and everything. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. Anyways, we then have this interesting point in the chapter to where we have this like interesting guy walking and he's just like and he looks all wrapped up and everything and people are wondering now some people throwing this speculation what if it has something to do with Shigaraki or Tenko or something. I don't know, it wasn't brought up in this last chapter. Yeah, that's kind of the thing right then and there. So, anyways, Deku asked Todoroki if he was gonna make it to the farewell party, but Todoroki's like, no, I'm good. And basically we find out that he went to go see his brother Toya and Endeavor's there, which leads us into this current chapter that is going to be officially releasing on Sunday, but I'm reading the unofficial translations because of it, and it's basically titled "The Hellish Todoroki Family Final." So we're finally this chapter basically concludes the Todoroki backstory family storyline that we've been getting, which if anything, that's probably it's definitely up there in the top three My Hero Academia storylines. If not, it's definitely the best one that Horikoshi told. Just the in-depth and the emotional, the the insanity of the story, the fact like you get a dark side, you get an aspect of a dark side of a hero society where it's like, okay, here heroes being so desperate for power to be a number one hero, they'll try almost anything, even if it's at the expense of their own family. And then obviously, we all know the Endeavor backstory, the Endeavor storyline was crazy, within in terms of the way he treated his family and the aspect he did to basically atone for what he did. So hold on a quick second, guys. Um, anyways, let's get on with it. Let's get on with the chapter. But like I was saying, the Endeavor stuff is crazy. But I'll speak more about this before I end the video off. Anyways, we see the Todoroki family all together. We see Natsuo, Fuyumi, Rei, Endeavor, and Shoto there. The interesting thing is we have it. One, Natsuo has a new haircut. He cut his hair to be shorter. Fuyumi, she looks the same. She just has like a few burn scar marks over his face, and then Rei Todoroki has like a huge freaking scar just across her face right then and there. And also too, her hair is shortened too. She cut her hair as well. Anyways, she goes on to say, Fuyumi goes on to say, "Mom, you didn't need to come to this," but Fuyumi is like, Fuyumi Natsu, you say that, but the same goes for you too. Now, basically, um, Endeavor's like, you didn't need to come here, either, Ray. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. Or actually, I think Fuyumi was talking to Shoto saying he didn't need to come here. And you get the point. So yeah. You know, Todoroki is like, it's not some sense of duty that brought me here today. That goes for all, some sense of duty that brought me here today. That goes for all of us. Now, Toya, Dobby, he's still alive. He is still alive. After basically being burnt to nothingness, the dude is still alive. Now, the police guard, now he's in this holding detainment cell. Now, the police guard goes on to say he's capable of speaking, but only for a few minutes per day. Now he goes on to say, but he's slowly but surely basically dying. That's the current state of Toya Todoroki. So even though he's not dead, it sounds like because of what happened and how much damage he's done to his body, um, he's basically on death's door. He slowly but surely, probably every passing day, he's getting weaker and he's probably every single day closer to his death. Um, that's kind of the thing. And also too, the guy doesn't look like Toy anymore. Like he's basically looks like a damn skeleton, to be honest. And he's kind of just wrapped up in these metal guards and everything. Now, Dobby, Toya, he opens up his eyes and he goes on to say, coming out of the woodwork, it's like I'm a tourist spot or anything. Now he starts coughing, and they're obviously, well, it's really Ray that's worried about him. Now, Endeavor goes on to say, I came to talk about what's to come. We get a huge revelation now. And okay, it's funny how people kept making the mention how there were like no stakes with the fact that nobody freaking died in the final war arc. Now, I will agree. In some cases, there should have at least been one major death. But it's the fact that people were like, we can't let this war unscathed. There was like no seemingly threat. There was no repercussions from this war arc. We get one of our first few well, it was actually established in the last chapter. One of the really twice. One of the few outcomes from the war arc that is affecting the heroes is one, we don't know if Deku's going to have a quirk anytime soon. Two, Bakugo's freaking arm is basically paralyzed to the point like a doctor requests he get prosthetics, but he's going to keep that basically injured freaking arm he's got. On top of it, his heart is dang near like repaired, but it's probably not as strong as it once as his original heart was. We get another freaking incident here or another situation where the events from the past arc actually has effects on this arc. So people saying like, oh, there's no like freaking blowback or no freaking um stakes in terms of like, oh, this it's not going to affect these characters. No shit. We even get later in revealing this chapter that because Quirk, that Hawks basically doesn't have a quirk, he is basically now the new Public Safety Commission president. I think that's a repercussion from the incidents from the war arc because the man don't have a quirk. What the hell is he going to do? Is he going to retire or is he just going to do this? And they gave him basically to be the new president. Now that's good for him, but regardless, he can't be a hero anymore. He's just the new hero public safety commission, making sure heroes are doing the right stuff, right? Here we get another incident. Endeavor ends up saying he's got to basically retire. Now he's basically also retiring for what the incidents that came out about what he did. But he's also retiring with the fact, like, he literally says in this chapter, the man cannot fucking walk. He's in a wheelchair. He says he cannot walk anymore. So that goes to show me that the damage he suffered in the last war arc was so bad, the fact that he can't even stand anymore. So the man is, and also too, Endeavor's like wrapped in all these damn bandages and everything. So the man's burnt to hell. Um, you know, he's got all these burns. He can't freaking walk anymore, basically. Um, and he got no arm either. He lost his right arm in this whole fight because remember it got cut off. So for people saying, are My Hero Academia fans saying that oh there was no stakes, there was no blowback, everybody's gonna go back to what they used to do. No, there's clearly blowbacks. Characters are clearly affected from the incident of the war arc. Shit, you can even look at freaking Todoroki, you can look at freaking Fuyumi and Rei. They got freaking burned faces now. Their faces got burned. And it looks like there's a scar, there's scars there. That's gonna be lifetime on their faces, right then and there. Just like Shoto, basically, which I guess in a weird way is a coincidence. Um, so for people saying like, oh, there's no blowback or there was no freaking stakes, Ninja, there's repercussions for these people, for these heroes that ended up coming out of these war. Yeah, some heroes came out of the war just fine, but some heroes they didn't. We have it to where Endeavor, he's legitimately retiring because of the injuries he suffered. I think that's basically some stakes right then and there. Because now you look at the future and it's like, all right, then it's crazy because really in the grand scheme of things, Japan's number one heroes, All Might and Endeavor, basically kind of retired in 2 years. Both their number one heroes have retired in back-to-back years in the My Hero Academia timeline. And it's like, okay, then who the hell is number one? Because you look at the remaining heroes on the number one list, or on the list to be potential number one. You know, you can make the case Miracle could probably be number one hero, but like she's got a bunch of prosthetics. I'm guessing the next number one hero probably has to be Best Genius. It can't be Hawks because he lost his quirk too. If Hawks still had his quirk, he'd probably be the number one hero. But I'm guessing now it's going to probably be Best Genius as the number one hero, unless for some odd reason they proclaim a freaking high school student to be the number one hero in Deku. So there's a lot of repercussions to come out of this. Like, where is the hero? And I feel like that's gonna be another chapter focus. Like, okay, what is the next hero rankings? Or will they just do away with it? Will Hawks be like, there is gonna be no more hero rankings? There's gonna be no more hero rankings to see who's the number one hero. We're gonna be out of that because that's not right. Right? So that's kind of thing. Anyways, um, Endeavor goes on to say that was my initial plan even before the war started. So he probably basically goes on to make the mention like I was going to retire regardless, anyways. Plus, with the fact that everything that came out about his truth, it probably wouldn't be best in his PR case to probably still be a hero because you'll still have some, you'll still have some civilians and some people just be like, look, Endeavor probably is doing a great job as a hero, but I can't take away the fact that the man literally abused his family and he created a villain that almost helped destroy Japan. So, like, why is he still doing this? And if anything, he'd probably get more hate. So he goes on to say, but now he can't even walk on his own. Like, the man basically, it sounds like the man's going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, probably. He's going to be one of those disabled people. I probably have to go back or rewatch the fights when the anime comes, but um I'm guessing that's how much damage he took. Maybe he took a shot where it basically paralyzed him from the waist down. So that's kind of the thing. Now he goes on to tell Toya, the hero Endeavor burned to death. Your flames really were stronger than mine. Now Dabi, he kind of gets his shot, or Toya gets his shots, and he's like, "Oh, really? My condolences." Essentially. And he kind of gives that look like as if he doesn't give a shit, like he doesn't care. Or maybe deep down he's happy that like, oh, it seems like I got what I wanted. But exactly not what he wanted in a weird way. So yeah, now he goes on to now Toya goes on to say, don't go saying all this after ever saying all of this after everything is over, you coward. Um, and I feel like that's just Toya saying, like, you're trying to freaking walk away from everything that you did in the past. Please, you walking away from everything, you damn coward. Face it head on. And maybe Toya wants him to still be a hero, so he could be like, yeah, face the shit that you did. But Endeavor basically responds by saying, "You're right. You know everything about me, Toya. After all, you were always watching me." He goes on to continue the statement saying, "You wanted me to do the same for you, but I didn't." Basically, he acknowledges the fact like I should have paid attention to you, my son. And I apologize for that. He goes on to say, "No matter what anyone says, your heat did come from my hell flame. I've been watching your indictment video every single day." He goes on to say, "From now on, I'll come every day. So let's talk." And you kind of get a silhouette image of him in his wheelchair looking like he used to, Endeavor, and then you just have it to where Toya looks like he used to do, but in the Dobby look, just looking down at him. So that's the now. This beep is going crazy. But the police officer's like, you guys need to stop talking. His heart rate's increasing. So maybe if his heart rate increases, like it's not helping his situation in terms of like living. So that's the thing. Now Endeavor goes and say it's too late, I know, but let's talk. Um, Endeavor goes and say, Ray, Natsuo, Ryuma, Fuyumi, let's make good use of this extra time to give Shoto for Shoto to give us time to talk to him. Um, he basically tells Toya, listen, dude, listen, son, you're free to hate me. Anything is really fine. Anything is fine, really. Throw it all at me. Now and then Fuyumi steps in and she's like, no, me too. You know, you can blame me for everything. And then you just have it to where Ray steps in and is like, there's so many things that I want to talk to you about. Um, so that's the thing as well. Or actually, no, my bad. Endeavor, that wasn't Endeavor. Ray Todoroki actually did say, no, feel free to hate me too. And again, this beeper's going off and everything. And basically, the officer's like, look, that's enough for today. The man can't talk anymore. You can come back tomorrow. And basically, Shoto asks one last question. He asked the question we actually saw recently in the last season where he had the talk with Class 1A, where he's like, wants to ask Toya, like, what's his favorite food? He asks a question, and Toya wakes up for a bit, and he's like, it's soba. And basically, um, what is it? Shoto's like, mine too. And then you actually have a panel where you actually see Toya, Dobby, whatever you want to call him, shed a tear. He sheds a tear. And he gets pretty emotional about this. And maybe it's kind of the reflection he's having on his life, like, shit, man, I know I chose this, but what if there was a scenario that I just came home or I did things different? So pretty emotional, man. Pretty emotional. Crazy. Now we have it to where as they're leaving the facility, the jail facility, Natsu basically goes on and says, listen, he tells Endeavor, he's like, look, dude, I don't give a damn. This is the last time I'm seeing your ass. I'm gonna be starting a family. I'm gonna be getting married. We're not gonna have a ceremony, a wedding ceremony. Oh, and also too, I'm not gonna introduce you to her either. Um, listen, you ain't getting no sympathy from me. Now, listen, I can't hate on Natsuo. Some people, some fans might be like, why the fuck is he treating his dad like a dick, bro? Like, but again, you have to freaking understand from where he's coming from. Natsuo was from his perspective. He looked at his dad and he saw that his dad fucked their family up so bad. He basically turned his older brother into one of the worst villains of all in Japan's history to the point that he's basically in the situation he is now and he's basically dying as we're speaking. You know, he affected his younger brother in terms of that situation. And then also too, he affected his mother, made his mom have to be in a mental facility to recuperate from the trauma that he gave her. And Natsuo is just like, and Natsuo, even from when we first got introduced to him, he wanted nothing to do with Endeavor. We saw when we first saw him, he hated Endeavor. Like he didn't want his sympathy after being saved from the villain in that car situation. Like he didn't really care. And you just have it where not so he's standing on business really. And he just like, dude, I don't give a shit, even if you are my father. Fuck you, essentially. I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna start a family. I'm not gonna have a ceremony that you're gonna be invited to. Um, Also, too, the woman that I'm gonna be married to, you're never gonna meet her. So you're not even gonna know your daughter-in-law. And if we ever have kids, you're not even gonna meet your grandchildren. That is absolutely crazy. Listen, I respect Natsu. He's entitled to do what he wants to do with his family. Um, it sucks that his wife and you would envision he would have kids in the future that he'd probably treat a lot better than how Endeavor treated him and his other kids, Shoto, Fuyumi, and Toya. It sucks the fact that like basically it's kind of a situation that's kind of similar to Nana Shimura and her son. You know, you had it to where Kotaro neglected made Hana and Tenko basically want nothing, make sure like they don't see nothing to do in regards to their grandmother and Nana Shimura, um, because he despised his mom so much because he didn't know the backstory about what was really going on with his mom. It affected Hana getting really, she ended up dying, but it mostly affected Tenko because of it. Now here the good situation in this whole situation is the fact that you don't think Natsuo will treat his kids like as bad as Kotaro did with Hana and Shigaraki really. And I bet he would be fine if they wanted to become heroes and not make it neglected. And I would envision if they have any questions at some point, because even when they would probably get older, they would ask like, hey, you know, I keep hearing, like, what is it? I have a grandpa that did these things or whatever. What the heck happened? You know? And maybe at some point, maybe Natsuo, will eventually understand, like, all right, if you want to see your grandfather, you can see him, but I'm just gonna warn you, he ain't the man that you think he is. Well, that I think he is. But I could see it to where maybe Natsuo maybe when his kids were to get older, if he has kids, we'll never know because we won't have a sequel series more than likely. I don't know if I'll have a sequel series, but that would be an interesting sequel series like arc if Horikoshi ever did, like, you know, basically Shoto's nephew or niece meeting Endeavor and knowing their grandfather, but at the same time knowing what he did and knowing how it affected their uncle and then their father you know. But it's crazy. And again, like I said, you can't hate um Natsuo for wanting to stand on his business and be like, no, I want nothing to do. I want you nothing to have any involvement in my life ever again. Because listen, he legitimately was scarred from it and he blames Endeavor for the situation that the family is in now. And he knows, well, if Endeavor never did any of that, maybe Toya is among us, and he's not a villain. He wasn't a villain. He ends up being a good guy, you know. And that's the thing. And listen, Endeavor, he has himself to blame for that situation. Now he'll never get to potentially know one of his kids' like wives and how he's doing with the wife, And then if they have kids, he'll never maybe ever get to see his grandchildren, you know. So that's the thing. Now, Endeavor, he goes on to say, look, that's fine. You're able to do what you want. He basically apologized to say, like, look, I'm sorry. We find out that Fuyumi, she ended up actually quitting her job as a teacher, but then one of her students' mothers or students' family members ended up getting her into a new gig. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. So yeah. Anyways, Natsuo goes on to say, to be honest, I think you fulfilled your responsibility. You've also been punished already. Can't you just stop now? And Endeavor replies that comment by saying, I will continue to apologize and give reparations for my crimes for the rest of my life. You don't have to watch it though. I'll do everything I can to make sure I'm the only one they blame. Basically, Endeavor saying like if there's any PR people that probably go up to you and everything, I'm gonna make them mention the fact like and maybe at some point, maybe he'll go on the news and he'll tell his story and maybe say what he did. He can say, listen, anybody related to me, my wife, my kids, don't blame them. Don't blame them. They have nothing to do with what I did. I take complete blame for everything that happened. I was the cause for this. So yeah. And Natsuo basically tells him, like, look, dude, that's gonna be hell for you. And basically, Endeavor's like, yeah, I know, but I accepted the invitation to dance, which was a callback to what Toy had basically said, dance in hell with me, father. Things like that. So yeah, and Natsu was like, damn it, this is the first time you actually sounded fucking cool. So that's kind of the thing. They all end up leaving. Shoto tells Ray and Endeavor, like, I'm still gonna be going to class. I'm gonna stand alongside my classmates and become and go on the path that I want to be and choose the path that I want to become, essentially. And basically, Ray is like, even if it's hell. So that's the thing. We also have the sidekicks showing up and everything, so that's kind of the thing. Ray pulls out her phone and she's like, some people are keeping an eye on us, and it's Hawks. We find out Hawks is the Hero Safety Commission president. He ends up having a talk with Lady Nagant, and Lady Nagant, surprisingly enough, hold on, guys. Okay, as I was saying, Lady Nagant actually is staying in prison. She's going to stay in prison. So no, it makes all sense in the world. And Hawks had the plan of like, I wanted you to actually work alongside me and we can get this going back, working and getting everything back up and running. I'm like, why are you gonna be here? And Lady Nagant basically says, like, I'm gonna stay here because I'm still afraid that, the outside world scares me. The fact that I'm afraid that if I go work with somebody and I'm working alongside them, I'm afraid that like I'm gonna be betrayed again because the incident with All for One. All for One, she got out free. She worked alongside All for One, but because she turned back to the good side due to Deku, All for One turned on her. And crazy enough, that moment was still traumatic for her, so traumatic for her in her life, and she's like, nah. I'll serve my term. I'll continue getting these free tax dollar money, food, and thing like that. But I'm not going to stay upside until I'm ready, or until my turn, until my service is done, because I'm still afraid that the outside world is going to hurt me, and everything. And you can't really blame her for that. That goes to show you the trauma that All for One gave her. She trusted All for One, and All for One betrayed her, and because of that, she's still afraid by this. She's still scarred from it. But she seems a-okay. She still got the scars on her face. But regardless, for me, Lady Nagant is still a snack. She's still a snack regardless. So, that's the thing. Now she does go on to say, what we have to do now is we have to watch to see how society will react to what Izuku Midoriya all showed us that day and how it will change. So that's kind of thing. We do see John O'Criminal. He ends up getting let out of prison. He's hugging it up with Labrava. So I would envision they're gonna live their life together and everything. So that's the thing. Um, anyways, you know, Hawks, he ends up getting the reply back from Endeavor after sending out the text to him and everything. That's when we find out he's the Hero Safety President, the new president of the Hero Safety Commission. And basically, Hawks gives a call to this person called Marathon. And basically, the chapter ends off where we see Spinner is in a hospital. And yeah, now if we remember, Shigaraki wanted Deku to go talk to Spinner and tell him what he wanted to tell him. But that's where the chapter ends off. No break. So it's gonna be interesting. Um Solid way to end off the Todoroki family backstory and the Todoroki family storyline. And everything. Solid conclusion. I like it. Endeavor's retiring and he's gonna pay for what he's done. Clearly, it sounds like he's going to take all the blowback from that. You have to wonder, he's probably living with Ray too. Ray's probably living with him to help him because clearly the man's gonna need somebody to help him by his side. because the man can't do all these things, right? And maybe that's when he can finally settle down, and actually be respectful and things like that, and treat his wife the way that she should have been treated back then. Because we do know that, like, Endeavor deep down, he does care about Ray. Like, he didn't marry her out of spite. It wasn't really till later on he started just basically putting babies in her just to make babies so he could have the strongest child to overclaim All Might, right? But we genuinely know deep down he actually does care and love Ray. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. Yeah, really nothing else to say. So we'll definitely see where the story is going to go from this point on, but we have 4 more chapters left, and we'll see where those chapters go. But if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button, your thoughts on My Hero Academia ending, what My Hero Academia means to you, and the last few chapters I just talked about. Who is that mysterious guy walking in that alleyway? What are your thoughts on the conclusion to the Todoroki backstory, family drama stuff? And then where do you think the story's going to go, and how do you think the story is going to end? Anyways, till then, guys, peace.